Live from Keene, New Hampshire, the most watched TV news show in Keene, the Keene Weekly News with Mark Edgington. Coverage of local and national events starts now.
Hi, I'm Mark Edgington. This is the Keene Weekly News. Today's October the 12th, 2007. Thanks for watching. Had a little graphics problem. Something went wrong with the computer in the studio, so we don't have any of the cool waving flag and the Keene Weekly News up there. And the guy with a really big voice. Sorry. Next time, I promise. And I don't think we've got the little graphic of underneath my beautiful face here with Keene Weekly News and Mark Edgington and my email address, mark@freekeene.com. But I'll give it to you at the end of the show if you have anything you want to tell me. This show's about news, the news in Keene, and my comments on it. Getting right into it. Apparently, there's been in the James P. McCarthy case, there's been a plea bargain struck. And it says, family, justice thwarted by plea deal in fatal crash. I understand completely how this family feels. Plea bargaining currently in America, it's a mess. It's antithetical to the Constitution. It is unconstitutional. There is nothing in the Constitution about plea bargaining. I understand that prosecutors and the court system are just completely overloaded. I get that. But it's wrong. It's wrong that this family should not receive justice in this case. It's wrong that the person, if the person did it, and he's pleading to it, so one's going to assume. Let's go ahead and say he did it. He didn't get enough time because he's pleading. I mean, he's bargaining for less time. He's not bargaining with the family who was hurt. He's bargaining with the state. The state doesn't have anything to gain or lose in this instance, so they're just like, I'll put another one in jail. That's fine. If he didn't do it, then this plea bargaining system causes people to testify against other people that may or may not have been involved in the crime or some other crime or something like that in order to get less time. Like, if you're charged with a crime, doesn't it make sense to try to get as little time as possible? Maybe, just maybe, not you, but somebody might tell a lie or exaggerate the truth in order to get less time. I'm against plea bargains in general, and the face of this man right here, clearly in anguish, says everything. Plea bargaining is bad. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for the victims. It's bad for the criminals. It's bad for everyone. I got an email this week. Can you believe it? Somebody emailed me. It's amazing. And it wasn't just saying, you're a smug, arrogant jerk, because I get that all the time, right? What a surprise. I'm smug. I'm arrogant. Who would have thought that a guy that would get on television and just have a camera pointed straight at his face might be arrogant? No surprise there, folks. Anyway, the email was in regards to the comment I made last week about the cops zipping up and down Marlborough Street. They now have a little box out there that tell you your speed while you're going down Marlborough Street, and I made the conjecture that in fact that little box might be so the cops could see just how fast they were going up and down Marlborough Street. Because I have never seen anyone speed on Marlborough Street who wasn't in a police cruiser. The person asked, well, what can we do about it? And it's a great question. The fact is the police go up and down there. I'm sure that there are instances where the police have a really great reason for speeding down Marlborough Street. I'm glad that they don't generally turn their sirens on and wake up the whole neighborhood as they go down the street. They just usually will turn their lights, or sometimes they don't have them on at all, which is really it's the most irritating one. You would assume that if a cop has their lights on, they're going someplace important. If they don't have their lights on, they're not. So when they speed up and down the street and they don't have their lights on, but who's to say that a cop can't just turn their lights on any old time anyway, right? They can just, oh yeah, I'm going to get some coffee. I need to get there quick. Click. It's a matter of the public good. Turn on the lights and off they go. We don't know. I'm not watching the police ban. I'm not listening to the police ban. Are you? Sooner or later, something bad is going to happen involving a police car on Marlborough Street, and it's going to be because they were speeding. I hope that day doesn't come. I hope that the police just slow down, take it easy on Marlborough Street. It's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit for a reason. Now, I think you could probably go 35 down Marlborough Street and it'd still be fine, but 30, I generally don't try to stay between 25 and 30 on Marlborough Street. There's kids out there, there's drunk college students that could meander out in the middle of the road, and there's businesses right there on the side. Shouldn't go too fast on Marlborough Street. But what do we do about the police that are speeding there? What do you and I, Joe Citizen, do? Well, first off, we have to take the point of view that, in fact, these police officers work for us. They have been imbued with this power to turn on the little lights and go as fast as they want by us. And I think, it's just an opinion, I think some of them are sometimes abusing that power. Now, if there's a burglary in progress, I want them to flip on their lights and get on down there. But if one of their police brethren has pulled over a speeder, or for some other reason they got a traffic stop going on, we don't need 3 cop cars there. How many times in Keene have you seen 2 or 3 police officers on one traffic stop? How many times have you seen that? It's just, first off, we have too many police. I have it from, on great authority, from a city council member themselves, that the average number of people per police, it's 1,000 to 1, is what generally is considered to be the optimal number for police. We have 40-something police officers, and we have about 23,000 citizens in Keene. That's way more than they need. Now, why? I don't know. It sounds like a bloated government bureaucracy to me. And to me, the proof is that there's more than one cop on a traffic stop. You only need one police officer to write a ticket. That's it. If I've seen multiple occasions where they've got several police officers out there, and it's just a traffic stop. What's the point in that? Hanging out with your buddies? So I would say, basically, if you want to, the only thing you can do to stop police from speeding up and down Marlborough Street, write the police chief and tell him what you think. Go to city council meetings, address the issue. Get active in your local government. That's about the only thing you can do to handle these issues. One more issue that the emailer mentioned. Get into that. Apparently, there's problems with who doesn't know this, right? There's problems with drunk college students in Keene. What a surprise! Parents save their money for 18 years to send their little bundle of joy off to college, and really what it is a drunken expedition into partying. I'm sure some of them walk off with great degrees. Keene State College is in the business of selling degrees. God knows we wouldn't want to give them degrees. But what a lot of it is just a big drunken orgy of debauchery. I think that part of the problem is the drinking age. I think that we send kids off, basically they've been under the tutelage of their parents, not allowed to drink, and then we send them off to college. They don't have anybody watching them. Suddenly they're in the big wide world and they can get alcohol. So they do. I think that we should get rid of the drinking age and allow parents to teach their children how to drink responsibly. I think that's the first issue. It's obviously not something we're going to solve in Keene, obviously not something I'm going to solve in New Hampshire. That's pretty much a national issue. But we have to deal with it on a local basis. So first off, to the college students. Look, they're going to get you if you go outside and scream at the top of your lungs while drunk. If you hang out with a bunch of people who are at a loud party and you drink, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get a charge that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. You don't want that. Do I think it's right? I don't know. I don't think the drinking age is a good thing. I do think that if you're annoying people that are trying to sleep and go to work in the morning, you deserve some trouble. Secondly, if somebody comes to you while you're at a party, a neighbor or something like that, and says, hey kids, keep it down. Keep it down. because if you don't, the next time they're not going to come over and say, hey, keep it down. They're going to call the law. And when the law comes, they're going to run your little name through their book, and they're going to give you all kinds of trouble. You do not want this. Drinking isn't the problem. You can drink with your friends as long as you stay quiet and nobody's going to give you any trouble at all. It's when you hang out in huge throngs of kids outside some home that's, being used as a dormitory, and you make a nuisance of yourself. That's when the problem occurs. Now, to the working adults out there who are trying to get some sleep, I think calling the law first is bad. I think that probably the first thing you should do is talk to the kids, whoever they are. Hey, can we keep it down over here? Keep it quiet. Give them a warning. Let them know that they're stepping across the line. It's irritating. I gotta say, I know what it's like. If it's not a bunch of drunk teenagers, it's a barking dog, right? All I want to do is get up in the morning and go to work so I can take care of my family. But I think the first thing to do is just to mosey on over there, be an adult, and say, hey, you guys keep it down a little bit? Then if they don't, well, call the law. What are you going to do? Sooner or later, they'll stop. That was, I got a little news story that goes with that one. Let me dig off in here. Police remove stranger on couch. A Keene man awoke Wednesday morning to find a drunken college student. Drunken and college student going together. Can you imagine? Those two words. It's like it's all synonymous. It's like college student means drunkard. What has happened to our university system that now we have the #1 party school in the nation? That we even name such a thing. What has happened to our nation where drunk and college student, generally those words go together? I think, for one, we're just sending too darn many kids to college. I think if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, great. Go to college for that. If you want a business degree so you can run a business, move up in the business world, great. Do that. I think that liberal arts, communications degrees, those kind of things, largely not very useful. The number that I've heard is 15%. 15%, 15% of people are actually in the fields that they went to college for. That tells me, now I'm not going to say that if you got some kind of college degree out there, that a psychology degree, that it couldn't possibly help advance you in some career or another. I'm not going to say that. But I also think that there's probably a good use that we could make of local community colleges. They're a lot cheaper. They provide perfectly good degrees, AA degrees, and then the kid can go off to university when they're a little older and a little more mature. Keene State College student Ian Michaels, 20, of Gilsum Street, has been charged with criminal trespassing and unlawful internal possession of alcohol. How can you internally possess alcohol? In connection with the incident, Ian Silberman, 27, two Ians, right there in the same story. Can you imagine? Called police after 7 a.m. after discovering Michaels asleep on the couch outside an apartment on 20 West Street. Apparently it was outside. So, very strange. This is what happens when people drink too much. And, the kids don't know. How are you going to learn how to drink responsibly if you're not taught by your parents? Well, you're going to learn by bad circumstances. Here's a bad circumstance that's happened for old Ian. He'll probably learn that, this is a bad thing. I personally have had bad things happen while I was drinking when I was in my late teens. It happened. I'm not going to lie to you about it. I learned from those experiences, and I can't say I don't drink alcohol at all, but I don't get so messed up that I fall asleep on somebody's couch outside their house. I mean, that's pretty messed up. You can't make it home? You don't know where home is? You've drank too much alcohol. Speaking of Keene State College, apparently a Keene State College student and a Charlestown man are accused of illegally downloading music. Now, you know about this. This is on the computers. You can go out there and you get these programs that'll go find music that you're looking for, BitTorrent and that kind of thing. And You can get whatever song you want. If you want to hear Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions, you can get that. If you want to hear the King doing one of his soulful ballads, you can do that. Any song you want. Some of them copyrighted, some of them not. There's lots of new music out there on the internet that the artists want you to listen to their songs so that you'll come to their concerts. Generally what happens is the RIAA, the Recording Industry of America, or whatever they're calling themselves, the RIAA, they fine you $3,000 and that's what you got to pay. However many songs it was. Now, last time I heard, let's see, a CD, 13 songs, about $13. A song's worth $1. So when they charge people $3,000 for downloading a few songs, let's call it 50, that seems like too much to me. But I guess it's supposed to be a penalty for doing such a thing. There was a case recently where, in fact, a woman, here it was, in Minnesota, had to pay the RIAA $220,000. That's about $9,200 a song. This is crazy. She wasn't even found guilty. I mean, they couldn't even prove that it was her. It just came from her computer. So that means if you have one of these wireless networks in your house, which I do, if you haven't secured it, which many people don't know how, every one of these little computer skills is something new one has to learn. Some people don't know how to secure their wireless network. So somebody could pull up in a car just next to your house and download a few songs. This could have happened to this woman. There's no way to prove it. She says she didn't do it. Could have been her teenage son. Who knows? If it was her teenage son, I can see how the recording industry would hold her responsible, but there's no way they can prove that that's what happened. And here's the problem. Does the recording industry really want to go fining the people that are after their music, their potential customers? Do they want that? I mean, couldn't a person download a song, enjoy it so much, they say, I'd like to have the CD of this so that I can burn it and do what I want. I can carry it with me. These burned CDs that you make, they don't last forever. They're good for a couple of years and then you got to reburn them. And that's assuming you have the same computer a couple of years later and the song's still on there and all that other stuff. So a lot of people like CDs. I have a huge CD collection. Does the RIAA really want to go out and find the people that want its music? It seems to me, now I'm for intellectual property, but it seems to me that there's a real problem here. I think if a person has gotten a song off the internet and they're not selling it to anyone, they're not making a profit off of this, there really shouldn't be much of a problem here. I can see where the RIAA says, our old business model isn't working. We need to do something to preserve our old business model. I understand where they're coming from. What in fact they're doing is they're marginalizing themselves. They're hurting themselves. I mean, at some point people are going to say, look, I just don't care that much about copyrighted music. I don't care that much about RIAA protected music. What I care about now is I'm just going to listen to music that's from, artists that aren't protecting their music. And then what? And then the American recording industry goes down the tubes. This is not going to take too much. There's not that much profit in recorded music. They lose 25% of their base. It's gone. Something has to change. Something has to give. People are going to continue to download this music. That's not going to stop. Something needs to change. Now, only the RIAA can change it. I suppose we could pass some kind of legislation, but I'm not really for that. Okay. Man charged under new law. Providence, Rhode Island. A former Massachusetts man has been indicted by a federal grand jury for failing to register as a sex offender when he moved to Rhode Island. These sex offender lists disturb me. Now, I really don't have a problem with some guy who's been convicted of rape or some guy who's, molested children or something like that being on a list for the rest of his life. I do not have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is, A, if they do this to somebody who has, this is essentially it's a punishment of sorts. If they haven't been sentenced in that manner, then it seems wrong to me to put them on the list. You know, to put their name out there on the internet, make them register. How can you make someone register? I mean, that's not part of their sentence. They did their time and they're free, right? Well, no, they're not free. They're forever on this list. They forever have to go and report in and all that stuff. That's essentially some kind of probation, isn't it? Well, the judge didn't sentence them to the probation. Secondly, different states administer these lists. Each state has its own list. Some states are better than others. I hear New York's list is pretty well maintained. But many states have people on the list that are convicted of peeing behind a tree. You know, public urination is considered a sex offense. When they were 18 years old, they had sex with a 15-year-old girl. That's a sex offense. Now, look, it gets done all the time. It has been done in the past all the time. I don't think that when you're talking about consensual acts amongst teenagers or young people, that person should have to, for the rest of their life, register as a sex offender. That's what's happening, people. That's what's happening on these lists. These lists are full of names of people that I wouldn't consider a danger to me and my family. And if we start a sex offender list, Tennessee started a drug offender list. Pretty soon, we're going to have so many lists and so many people on these lists, the lists are going to be useless. You're not going to be able to look on there and find real quick whether somebody in your neighborhood is in fact some kind of big-time sex offender or whatever. Also, the states that administer these often don't put anything but the statute number. It says sex offender and then the statute number. You don't know what that statute number is. You don't know if it's public urination. You don't know if it's sexual molestation. You don't know what it is. These lists, because they're administered by the state, are inefficient and they're mediocre at best. I'm not saying we don't need, that lists aren't a good idea. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, because the state's running them, there's all kinds of inherent problems in them. Moving on, apparently it's big news. The Keene campaign gets dirty. An anonymous blogger, now I happen to know the person who they're talking about here, Julia Miranda, is running for Ward 4 City Council seat. Now that's a seat that sits for 4 years. She's a young lady, and she threw her hat in the ring, and apparently in the primary that didn't matter for anything but mayor, she got about 1/3 of the votes. So I don't know how she's going to do in the long run, but a blog came out. Somebody sent out a blog, wrote a bunch of things about Julia and her thoughts and slanted them in a negative light. Up till this point, Keene politics had always, it was a community. Everybody had always sort of said, well, we're going to stay nice and not throw a bunch of mud or anything like that. But somebody decided to toss a little mud. As a matter of fact, yours truly. I got a little mud tossed on me, tossed my direction on this blog. But I don't think that, I think that it's been more news than, they made more trouble for themselves than anything. It made the front page of the Sunday Sentinel, for God's sake. Now this cute little girl she's been disparaged, and she's a cute little girl. She's nice, she's smart. I think that she'll make a great city councilor if she gets elected. But this kind of dirty stuff in campaigns, we don't need it. We don't need it. Like they said in the article, Keene is a community, and that kind of dirty politics is not what we need. Now, there was a quote from Fred Parcells. It wasn't actually in this story. I heard him say it recorded on the internet. He said that if you want to find out how dumb you are, just run for office. And it really shows that, when you put yourself in the limelight, people are going to vent on you. And I thought it was very insightful. Little ditty in the opinions section about Buck and Ike. On behalf of Buck and Ike, Swansea's biggest rural characters, ambassadors of open space protection, whatever that is, I would like to express thanks to the Monadnock Humane Society, Chrysalis Farms, and Gallery. Buck and Ike were on parade marshals for the Humane Society's Walk for Animals in mid-September and spent a pleasant day visiting with fans. They especially enjoy the little children. I love these two animals. Have you seen them? They're this giant breed of cow, just a humongous cow. And they're gentle as they can be. They're brown and white, and if you get an opportunity to go see Buck and Ike, take the family out there and do it. It is fun. These cows are just enormous. I saw them at the Cheshire Fair, Cheshire County Fair over there, and I was at the draft horse pull, which I think is, I like to see these big animals pull these heavy things. I think it's just amazing stuff to watch. And Buck and Ike, you know, they're oxen. They pull things too. They don't pull them quite as fast as the draft horses do, but they probably can pull a little longer than the horses can, just a guess. But Buck and Ike were there next to some real cows. And it was amazing to see the size difference between, you know, Buck and Ike and what a normal cow looks like. Amazing. Your kids will love it. They're gentle animals. You got nothing to be worried about. Go see them. I also saw them at the, I think it's the Old Homestead is the name of the play that's in Swansea every year. Apparently it was written in 1890 whatever and has been performed for the last 60 years in Swansea. They've got a stage built and they do it for 3 weeks or something like that, and people practice, and it's a good show. I enjoyed it. You know, there's some little benches there, or you can bring a you know, blanket and picnic, you know, bring little snacks or whatever, or they sell food there. Very nice. I think it's $7 to get in. You know, ticket for me and my wife. It's great. City officials. The city might be too restrictive on Keene properties. Apparently there's only one bid in on the 92 Water Street property that they've spent all this money demolishing, the old shoe factory over there. And now it hinges on how clean the ground is beneath the shoe factory. Developers declining interest in city-owned property has some Keene officials wondering if it might be time to put a for sale sign on the land they want to sell and then back away. Only one developer stepped forward with plans for the now empty lot at city-owned 92 Water Street in Keene. That's down from 4 bids for the property received 2 years ago. If we want to, now the developer is proposing on this land, you know, shops and offices and condominiums and all kinds of good things. 5 stories, it'll be great. This is what Keene needs. Keene needs more of this kind of business. If we want to see that more of this kind of business come to Keene, I have an idea. You're a city councilor or have some kind of sway in the city government, listen close, please. Let's put a tax moratorium on these particular areas that we want to get out of the city's hands. The city shouldn't be owning property. There's no reason in the world why the city should have 92 Water Street. I don't know how they got it. I don't know if the last person went out of business and then you know, the taxes piled up and they said, you can take it. Because the taxes are just incredible. It's really expensive to live in Keene. People, I've heard more than one person says, yeah, I'm not moving to Keene. The taxes are too high. If we put a tax moratorium on one of these, you know, first 5 years, no taxes, people will snap it up. You'll get some businesses in there. And that's what we really need. More businesses mean more employment. More employment means more money. That means the people in Keene are wealthier. Property values go up. Taxes increase. Now, I'm not for the exorbitant taxes that we have in Keene, but as a city official, you need to look at that. Any opinions you might have, you can get a hold of me, Mark at freekeene.com. That's Mark with a K at freekeene.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark Edgington.